This was whenever I was 16. I was in my sophomore year. And I mean, I never really thought I would be arrested for terroristic threatening. I've always been a good kid through school. I've never really gotten much trouble. A lot of the teachers liked me, and the principal liked me too. So I was at school one day, and as soon as I got to school, it started as a normal day. I would go hang out with my friends. As soon as I got to school, we'd talk, laugh, have a good time. We'd go to our classes, and it was a pretty normal day. But towards the end of the day, it was my last class, and I was sitting down in my chair, and it was English class. I wasn't very fond with the teacher because she had failed me the previous year, and we were just talking about a lesson, and then we stop. We're supposed to do work on our own, and she comes over and asks me, "How are you supposed to pass my class?" And I leaned back in my chair and I turned around and I asked her, "What'd you say?" Because I didn't hear her. And she said, "How are you going to pass my class this year? You don't have very good grades." And jokingly, I told her with a gun. But right after I said that, I realized that I shouldn't have, and I told her that I was kidding, and I told her that I was waiting towards the end of the year where more of my friends could help me out with my work. And it was pretty normal class. 10 minutes before the school lets out, and I hear a knock on the door of the classroom, and she goes and opens it, and there's two officers there, both of them related to me, surprisingly. And they ask if they can see me, and of course I knew what it was about. So I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So I grabbed my backpack and I walked out in the hallway, and they asked me to keep my hands just away from my pants or anything. I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And they put me in handcuffs just for their safety, but I didn't have anything on me. I would never do that. I was very confused about it, like why it was that serious. They took my backpack and searched it. I had nothing in there, and they said, "Okay, come with me." We went to the assistant principal's office, and whenever I sat down, they both come in and shut the door, and I had to talk with the assistant principal, the guidance counselor, and with both officers. And they were all throwing questions at me, and it was just a lot to take in, because like at the moment I was very stressed over if I was really going to get in trouble or not. Like, it was very real. And the assistant principal asked me, she said, "Do you think this is appropriate?" And I told her, "No, absolutely not." And she said, "Why would you say it?" And I told her it was as a joke, and I clarified that to the teacher, and she said that it was fine. But of course it's not, because I'm in here. And she said, "Yes, but we do take this as a very serious manner." And in my head, I'm just thinking, I'm screwed. I'm going to jail over something. And we talked for another 5 minutes, nothing special, just over mental health, like, so they would know if I was really wanting to hurt somebody or kill people. And by the end of that conversation, both of the officers were looking at me, and one of them looked at the assistant principal and said, "I think that's enough." And he started reading me my rights, and it just sent chills down my back. Just being in school, never to think that I was going to have an officer arrest me. And as I was walking out of the school with handcuffs on me and being held by two officers walking down the hall, I would see a couple of my friends and they would look at me, "Why? What did you do?" And that I just felt so ashamed. I just kept my head down and walked out the door. And it was whenever everybody was leaving, so the hallways were clear, everybody was outside. We normally go out front of the school because there's a big concrete pad that you wait for the buses on. And whenever I got out there, a lot of my friends saw me and they were just like, "What did he do?" But I couldn't really pay attention to them. I was just focused on thinking what I should do next to help me get out of this. Whenever I sat down in the car, the police cruiser, I remember he asked me if I wanted something to drink and eat because he was my cousin. He wanted to be nice to me. And I said, I just want a Dr. Pepper and I want to go see my family at home. And he said, that's fine. And he took me down to our gas station and got me something and took me to my house where I saw my grandmother and my grandfather. I lived with my grandparents and I still do. I never really lived with my mom. She moved out and lived in a different city, but it was still really close. My grandmother was just crying, and it was hard to see it too, because like they would never think that I would say something along the lines of, I'm gonna bring a gun to school. It's just hard to look back on. And once we leave there, he takes me over to their police station and he has me sit out in the waiting room with him. And about 10 minutes go by just doing nothing but sitting down worrying. They take me back into a room where I'm talking to some professional counselor or something, and she gives me a paper and she tells me to read some of the stuff on it and then tell me how I feel about it. And of course, all the results came back negative. I was never in the mental state to ever want to hurt somebody. I'm a nice person. But still, she felt that it was needed that I was arrested and put in jail. And I was charged with terroristic threatening in the 2nd degree that day. And I was taken down to a juvenile detention center. And I mean, I never really thought I would be arrested for terroristic threatening. Like, there's a lot of jokes and memes over a bunch of terrorist attacks and stuff that people post on Reddit, and everybody would be able to see them. Some people would laugh, some people would just say that's not right, but that's just how the world is now. I'm in the police cruiser and he takes me down to the juvenile detention center. It was about an hour and a half away from where I live and where I go to school at, so it was a very uncomfortable ride with handcuffs on you the whole time. It's not something ideal that you would imagine, but it is really uncomfortable. Whenever we got there, he took me inside, and eventually I recognized somebody who was at the front desk of the place, and it was my uncle's girlfriend's mother. And it was very awkward. Very, very awkward, because she was wondering what I did, and she eventually figured it out through the time I was there. Whenever I was there, there was nothing really special that happened. I met a few people that were in there for ridiculous reasons. I was probably the only person in there that had actually done something that remotely shocked a couple people. While I was in there, it was just, you have your one cell, and it's just sectioned off into different ones. So there's like A block, B block, and it's pretty much the same thing in each of them. There's just different rooms there, and they have big doors on them. It's not very welcoming because of course it is jail, but you just have to deal with it whenever you say something that's so touchy today. A couple days after I was in there, they said that I was able to go to the court for a hearing to see if I was able to be dismissed or not. And I was very happy to hear that, because I did not want to be in there any longer. It is not nice at all. Whenever we get into the police cruiser, it's just the same hour and a half drive back to where I live. Once we get to the courthouse, it's just, I've never really been in there before. It looks nice at first, but once you enter the big room where a bunch of people sit down and look at you like you are nothing, it's just not very friendly whenever you see a bunch of officers and judges looking down on you like you are the worst person in that courtroom. And it just raises the stress level. So I'm sitting there, the judge is talking, and he's telling me, why did I do all this? And I just simply told him it was just supposed to be a joke. I told the teacher that I didn't mean any harm about it, but still, the day we live in, you can't really say anything like that. And say 5 minutes later, me talking to my lawyer, she tells me, so I might be able to get you out of here today. And I said, that's great, but there was one big downside about it. I would have to be put on 6-month probation, and I cannot leave the state. So that was very stressful because I was supposed to go to an amusement park later that month. So that got canceled out. But when she goes up there and talks to the judge, he says, okay, that sounds fine. No guns in the home or around where he is. So I live in a southern state. My grandfather had to give up all of his weapons and give them to somebody close in the family to hold on to until it was safe for them to be in the house again. It was just unreal. Like, I never thought that I would be in a courtroom in front of people that were very powerful, looking at you like you've committed every crime in the book. But eventually I get to leave and I get to go home with my grandparents. And once I get home, it's just them upset, worried, stressed, just how any parent or grandparent should feel whenever their grandson or son is in a trouble like this. The next day, it's just more people telling me, why would you do it? And me answering with the same response. But something I didn't expect would happen. A couple of people that I knew made a Facebook account with my picture on it, said my name, and then did nothing wrong. And on that account, they posted so many posts. And they ended up actually messaging the teacher that it happened with, telling her that I'm coming for her, that I'm going to kill her. And I didn't know any of this was happening at all. It was all a surprise to me. And after that, just 2 days pass, and then an officer comes and knocks at my door, and he says, we're going to have to revoke your probation. You've been messaging that teacher on social media. And I was totally clueless about it. I was, what are you talking about? And he had papers with him that showed the pictures of the whole Facebook account and the messages with her. And I told him, that's not me. I don't know who did it, but that's not me at all. If you have any way to check, you can do it. I'm clean. But still, that wasn't a very good argument that over my word, over proof. So it was really stressful to deal with. I'm not able to go back to school for the rest of the time of that year and half of the next year. I was put in a alternative school with people that had gotten arrested in school like I had, that actually done stuff wrong, and I did not fit in there at all. Everybody was so rude and disrespectful. Like, you wouldn't expect that out of people. But after an experience like that, you come to find out that not everybody is the way you would expect. And I soon figured out the people that did the Facebook account, and I told them, you need to come up front with it, or else I'm going back to jail and they're not going to let me out for a while. And they tell me, I don't know about it. I don't want to get in trouble. My mom would kill me. And I told them, I'm basically being slaughtered. I have no rights to do anything. I can't leave the state. I can't go have fun with my family. They eventually come up forth with it, and they went to court with me, and they told the judge and everything that it was them. They got charged with something. I can't remember. It's been 2 years since it happened. It shocked me that my friends would do something like that. Of course, I'm not friends with them anymore, but it's hard to really go back and trust people after they put you in such a situation like that, after you just went through something very big and eventually got out of it. After everything happened in the courtroom, I was able to go home. They had somebody disable all my devices from being able to connect through a remote host, and it was very stressful because if I even wanted to, I couldn't get on anything internet related to do anything at all. I couldn't listen to music on Spotify unless I had stuff downloaded already. I would basically be around my brother 24/7 just so I would have interaction with other people, because sitting in my room doing nothing wasn't very healthy. I couldn't go on social media at all. I couldn't message my friends on Snapchat, Facebook, or Instagram. I couldn't do anything. I would basically just have to sit in my room and do nothing or play games offline. I was not allowed to talk to anybody over the internet for 3 months. It was really stressful. A lot of my friends wondered where I went, and a lot of people just forgot about me. They still had suspicion that I was behind the Facebook account because it had one of my pictures on it. And they were like, oh yeah, this has to be him. I thought it was very unreasonable, but with a court system, you can't do much about it. With me being a criminal and them having a clean record and multiple diplomas, and I can't do anything about it. Anything I say, they just talk over me. You feel like you can't do much of anything about the whole situation. But after the 3 months passed, one of the correctional officers came to my house and told me, you're free to go. You are able to get on social media. We have removed the remote host or whatever they use. And I was able to leave the state, talk to all my friends. And it was a lot of catch up from there. A lot of my friends wondered where I went. And it's just hard to tell them, yeah, I was arrested for talking about a gun in school. Like, most people aren't very judgmental, but some people are judgmental about that. And it gets to you. But I think that's really where I started to calm down more and worry less about anything else happening. So I was able to focus on getting the rest of my school done in the alternative school they had placed me in. And I was able to have fun at home and still go out and visit people. So after all of this had happened over the course of 4 months of everything going down and causing problems for me, I was able to actually relax. And I just want to clarify, please never mention anything of a gun, bomb, or anything that would hurt anybody in a school or anywhere else. You can really get into trouble over it, whether you mean it as a joke or not. It's something very serious, and I recommend not to say it. It would really save you a lot of stress and a lot of embarrassment. If anybody happens to get in a situation like this, or end up dealing with anything similar to this, and you need help going through it, and the public defender for your state or country isn't good enough, I would look into getting a better lawyer. It would help you out so much better, and review everything over with them. I know it may sound like they can do their job way better than you helping them, but with you telling them your feelings and everything that you said, it'll help you through the situation a lot faster and easier.
If you want to help support the channel, then please consider subscribing. It only takes 1 second and it really does help a lot. And if you enjoyed this video, then maybe leave a like and a comment. If you'd like to be a part of my community, you should join the Discord and follow me on Twitter. Links are down in the description below.